Chapter 7 The Puritans. Just a few years after the Pilgrims' first feast of Thanksgiving in Plymouth, another group of people came to New England. They were called the Puritans. Like the Pilgrims, the Puritans left England because a king would not let them worship as they wanted. King Charles I was happy to get rid of the Puritans. The king signed a paper called a charter, giving them permission to start a colony in Massachusetts Bay. Worship means to pray to and honor God. Charter is a paper from the government that gives permission to do something. Who arrived in New England after the Pilgrims? Why did the Puritans leave England? The text says that the king was happy to get rid of the Puritans. What does this mean, and why do you think the king may have felt this way? To get rid of someone means to send that person away so that that person no longer bothers you. The king was probably happy to get rid of the Puritans because they disagreed with the king and did not worship in the way that the king had ordered. He was happy they were leaving England. What did the king give to the Puritans? He gave them a charter that gave permission for them to start a colony in Massachusetts Bay. The Massachusetts Bay Colony was run by the Puritans and not by the King of England. From the beginning, this colony was bigger than Jamestown or Plymouth. It began with 1,000 men, women, and children. Study the image on the page. Can you describe the different people and the different activities that you see? Who ran Massachusetts Bay Colony? How was Massachusetts Bay Colony different from Plymouth and Jamestown? Massachusetts Bay Colony was a little more successful from the start. The Puritans had brought lots of food and tools with them. They began building a city called Boston, as well as a number of towns. Why was Massachusetts Bay Colony more successful from the start? What city did the Puritans start? With things going so well in the Massachusetts Bay Colony, more Puritans arrived. Within 10 years, there were over 10,000 people living there. This colony also did well because the Puritans made sure that everyone worked. Even young people had to work. The Puritans believed that children should be taught job skills they could use when they became adults. This way, they would always be useful. Do you notice the different activities shown on the image? On the top left, there's blacksmithing or making tools. On the top right, there's reading. In the middle left, there's baking. In the middle right, there's gardening. On the bottom left, there's sawing wood. And on the bottom right, there's sewing or making a quilt. Did the size of the Massachusetts Bay Colony start the same, get smaller, or get bigger after several years? What was one reason the colony did so well? Why did the Puritans believe that children and young people should work? The Puritans also wanted their children to learn to read and write. They wanted everyone to read the Bible. Because education was so important to them, Puritan law said that every town must have a school. All the townspeople had to pay for the school and the teacher. We still pay for public schools this way. The Puritans also started Harvard College. Townspeople are the people who live in a town. Public schools are schools that all school-age children living in that area may attend, free of cost. The costs of running public schools are usually paid for by local taxes. A college is a school that students can attend after they graduate from high school. Harvard College later became known as Harvard University, and that Harvard still exists today. Today, students from all over America and the world want to attend Harvard because it offers an excellent education. Why was education important to the Puritans? What did the Puritans do which shows that education was so important to them? What college did the Puritans start? After a while, the Puritans and others began moving to areas farther away. New settlements began in what would become Rhode Island, Connecticut, and New Hampshire. Before long, there were 13 colonies. Although they didn't know it at the time, the colonists were helping to create a new country, the United States of America. Colonists are people who live in a colony. Look at the map on this page. Can you find each of the new settlements mentioned in the read aloud, like Rhode Island, Connecticut, or New Hampshire? How many colonies were there eventually? What country did the colonists help create? What was Massachusetts Bay Colony like?